Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. Izotope is a proud sponsor of today's episode. Do you know about their new RX12? This is the way to make your audio flawless, all-in-one audio restoration. RX's 50-plus tool ecosystem is everything you need to rescue, refine, and enhance every project, blending surgical control with rapid results. Fully flexible, RX12 includes a standalone audio editing application and suite of software plugins to use in digital audio workstations. For decades, RX has pushed what's possible in audio editing and restoration, bringing out magic in every scene, song, and story. Powered by pioneering machine learning tech, it's the supporting star behind countless Oscar, Grammys, Emmys, and the winner of a Technical Academy Award. Go get this for yourself. Izotope RX12. It's out. IZOTPE.com. For 60 years, Heel Sound has provided innovative, professional, quality sound for stage, studio, broadcast, and podcast. Grammy-winning artists and sound engineers worldwide trust Heel microphones for their legendary sound. To find out more about the full line of Heel microphones and products, visit heelsound.com. That's HEILSOUND.com. I'm using a Heel PR40 microphone right now. Welcome to Hyphenate Halftime, everybody. This is our show for Monday, August 10th. Joining me, as always, is my green-shirted friend, Mr. Aaron Farley. How do you do today? We were just discussing before we turned the mics on that we have similar fashion sense.
Yes, and it happens. We don't plan this, but if you do watch the videos, you will notice that. Like there's been multiple times where I never wear a hat and then I'll wear a hat and then I'll come on and Randy will also have like a beanie on, or we'll have the same. Our glasses are different this time, but sometimes we have the same like reading glasses.
Oh yeah, I used
on.
to have the see-through glasses.
Yeah,
yes.
And then today we just
it's like looking in
randomly wore green shirts as opposed to the brown shirts. We are not the brown shirts. We're anti-brown shirt, but.
Who were the brown shirts again? Weren't they just communists?
No, I thought those were weren't those the like the Nazi police?
Oh, that's no good. Okay, you're right.
I think. I mean, you should probably bleep that out because of that word will get your podcast.
Yeah, they had something to do with the old German party there. Okay, yeah. So we won't say that. Oh, well, oops. Okay.
Well, you can change it in the edit. You can go green. Welcome to my green shirted friends. Yeah. But anyway,
oh boy,
we're anti
things you don't know.
Coming on.
Yes, I'm not pro brown shirt.
Yeah,
I happen to have a. Yeah, never mind. I'll move on.
Moving on.
Moving
AI,
on.
Would you please edit this out once you hear this? Please go back 1 minute. And make our conversation palatable.
Less offensive to everybody, everywhere.
Yeah.
I was going to, well, I'll leave all the politics aside. I've already stepped in too many things that my brain can handle for today. But we had a great interview last week with Jessalyn Aaland. It feels like a tongue twister. Yeah. I think I messed it up once somewhere in the episode, but she's awesome. Did you ever play the Che Cafe?
We did. The very first Saber-Toothed Tiger show ever was at Che Cafe.
That sounds
for
right.
a benefit.
Yeah.
For oh my God, I always remember his name. Now I can't. His name will pop up. It was we had started somewhat soon after 9/11 and all of the impending like Patriot Act / whatever they were going after for kids on the internet, and
Yeah.
people had put the anarchist cookbook up on the internet, and then um, as far as I know, allegedly this oh my god, what was his name? Sherman, I think his first name was Sherman. But I believe he was a student, maybe college student, maybe a high school student. I think he was a student, and he was a computer programmer, and allegedly had just linked to the anarchist cookbook, on his website or on a blog or whatever was happening back then. And the FBI and everybody else had decided that he was someone that needed to be taken down, and he was organizing, and all of these things, and so they showed up at his door, and as far as I remember, like broke down his door when he was there, or they got a warrant and went into his room, and they said he had like an open Snapple bottle, and they said that it was gonna be used for a Molotov cocktail, and they busted him for terrorism. He was like one of the first people organizers to be kind of like he was going to go to jail and be tried for terrorism, and so and one of the members of our band was very like in organizing and helping out with different projects, and so they said, oh, we're going to do a benefit for him at the Che Cafe for lawyers' fees and things like that, and so he was like, well, I have a band, we'll open, it'll be our first show. And so we ended up someone with a lot of cachet rented us a van, and we all went down there and played, and it was amazing. I very much remember how nervous I was to play, and it was probably like one of the most packed shows we ever played. For the next like 7 years, is probably the most people that were in a room that ever heard us at one time. But it was one of those things where we went down there in the Che Cafe, and they were like raising money, and I think even at that point, this would have been like probably 2003, 2002, 2003, and so I think they were still like they were making food, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And yeah, they raised a bunch of money for Sherman, and he went through. I haven't even checked up to see what happened with him, but
yeah, I was trying to look it up. You think his name was Sherman?
I feel like it was. I don't even remember. I'd have to look through. I could look it up. And
here was Sherman Austin. He was an 18-year-old activist in 2002.
Okay, so yeah, 2002.
He was an operator of the anarchist website RaiseTheFist.com.
There you go.
He was arrested and later sentenced in 2003 to 1 year in federal prison for hosting a document containing amateurish bomb-making instructions.
Oh, okay. So
part of
just
an online
1 year.
reclaim guide under a federal explosives distribution statute.
But it's
the raid took place on January 24th, 2002, armed federal agents raided Austin's home in Sherman Oaks, California, seizing his computer equipment and servers. Wow.
And then part of his, afterwards when you're on, what's it called, probation, part of his probation is that he wasn't allowed to get online. Or like touch a computer, I saw
that movie. Isn't that that's one of those? Did we watch that Hackers?
Yeah, right.
One of those movies.
And he's a computer programmer. Like this was his job. He was a computer programmer, and he was like, but he was a very young kid, super smart, super nice kid. He was there. He hadn't been sentenced or anything yet.
Oh,
so he was at the benefit
the show at
stuff,
the Che.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like Zach De La Rocha was like there and spoke, and Yeah, it was great. But I mean, it was great. It was like to see a community come together, and at that point, he was potentially going to serve like life for. They didn't know. I don't remember. They didn't know what they were going to charge him with, or he hadn't gone through completely yet. So there was a possibility that he was going to be sentenced for much longer, but still a year when he's like 18. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's
and
I'd like to say it changed the way things operated. That case somehow had a larger impact, but I don't know if I know enough. It's like reflecting on this, I can't exactly know how I feel. Obviously, I think it's wrong to arrest somebody for putting information on a website.
Well,
I'm also anti-violence in that kind of way to some degree as well, but it's also a clear oversight from the government. But I'm trying to just think in light of.
But I think the deal was, if you look into it, it wasn't even
the nightmare of it all now.
He wasn't even. I mean, I think part of I feel like at some point, there was like, you can just search the internet for how to do anything. And there's even an artist. I mean, there's an artist who completely made a hydrogen bomb, but just without like a nuclear bomb, because he just went on the internet and found plans for whatever, and he built this whole thing, but without the explosive part, right? And the whole idea was that like, oh, I'm building a sculpture out of found information, and he just like found a book of like, you can build the space shuttle. There's plans to build the space shuttle. You can build a rocket. There's plans anywhere.
You can dig a tunnel under
You can
your
find
house.
a book that has all of that stuff. But it's the intent, and I believe his thing too was that, and I don't remember, but allegedly, we'll say that the intent was that he just there were a bunch of anarchist links, and he had just linked the anarchist cookbook, which is a whole slew of information, and that this page that he got in trouble for is like, it's not even something that's his. It's not something that he even published. It was already published, this was like the early days of the internet, of like music. We were at everybody at that point was going like, well, so if I own a CD and I give my CD to my friend to let him borrow it, is that wrong? Okay, well then I'm just gonna do that on the internet. I'm gonna put it up and let my friends download it or whatever. And these were the questions of like, well, what does ownership even mean? Or what does it mean to publish something? And I think we're still going through that now, like of all these people who put stuff up on, put up false information on their TikTok or on whatever. And you're like, well, if you put that in the New York Times, you could get sued, right? Because there's journalistic integrity, and there's certain laws that you can't, speak like lies about people, and you can't, all of those kind of things. But then
yelling fire in a crowd.
Exactly. But if you say it on the internet, you're like, well, is TikTok the publisher, or is the person the publisher? Or if you play someone's music and they don't take it down, are you liable? And now I think we're still going through all of that. So I feel like that's what, and honestly, that's probably why he only got a year, because they were like, he published this thing. They're like, you can rent that book at the library. So what are you going to shut down every library, which they're also trying to do. So, maybe.
Right. Exactly. It's not out of the question. But this anarchist cookbook too, I mean, I'd always heard about it, and it was one of those things like, oh, it was kind of like Faces of Death or something.
Yeah.
Like, well, do you know there's a book out there? But it seems like it's become embroiled in all kinds of or a reason. It functions as probable cause in some cases. I don't know if that's still legally for the precedent set, but it looks like, just from all the articles I'm looking up real quick, it's just that this book has been used and cited in several arrests of people for probable cause, and they can say, well, he does own the anarchist cookbook, and that was found in his possession, and that has instructions for making makeshift homemade
Here's my
explosives.
question.
So it stands as some kind of legal thread. I'm not saying I agree with that. I think it's horrible, but it's an interesting cultural sort of artifact. Like, well, this book will be the smoking gun of anybody's false arrest.
My new question is, do you think the Anarchist Cookbook was published by the CIA? Not joking.
I don't know.
And like so if you're in there, you're like, how do we bust people? Right? Because this was the Nixon thing with drugs. Sure. They were like, well, if we make drugs illegal, like because the hard drugs, right? They stay like you could get in trouble more for having marijuana for a while than cocaine, right? Because because they kept that stuff, like marijuana was considered like whatever it was, a Schedule 3 or whatever the worst one, because they knew they're like, well, then that way we can bust all the hippies. Because before the 60s, drugs were like, it wasn't illegal like that, right? It was like something, it was like alcohol. It was like getting caught with alcohol or something. It wasn't a big deal. I mean, at that point, like cough syrup had cocaine in it and Coca-Cola had a little bit of cocaine in it. And you were literally taking like heroin for like nighttime, there's like Bayer created heroin as a nighttime relaxant or whatever. But then they made that illegal because, and you can actually, I feel like this is a Nixon era thing where they were like, well, we need a way that we can really bust these hippies. And like, well, why don't we flood drugs into the system and then we just make drugs illegal? There you go. Easy. And I would imagine if like, well, how do we get all these people there like making bombs? And like, well, why don't we put out a booklet of how to make everything, publish it underground, and have our people kind of like disseminate it. Or is that how you say it? Disseminate? Is that a real word? Disseminate? Why does that sound wrong?
Disseminate. Because it sounds like discriminate.
Disseminate. And give it out, and then we know who we gave it to, and just wait for them to use it. And then dun.
NPR had a story about it where they're saying that the book contains dangerous, crude, and sometimes inaccurate bomb-making recipes. Online conspiracy theories often claim it is a government honeypot or psyop meant to entrap radicals or track extremists. And there's official surveillance. While the FBI and other law enforcement agencies monitored the book and kept files on its distribution, they had no hand in creating it.
Oh, sure they didn't. Sure they didn't. Just like somehow Timothy Leary never got in trouble for having all his
I mean, did you see for the acid guy?
They just happened to never get busted, and everybody else taking the acid did. And Ram Dass and all them, right? Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to open the Che Cafe. I think even the name, even calling it Che Cafe after Che Guevara, right? I mean, there's kind of a revolutionary, communist, socialist hangout spot for radical youths in the San Diego area on is it UCSD campus? Is that where it is?
UCSD. Yeah. And I forgot that it was on the campus. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I remember being tripped out, like driving down there the first time and be like, whoa, we're going to play this real underground spot. And you drive onto this beautiful, huge campus, like very expensive buildings and very rich people going to a fancy college. And they're like, oh, wait, this is the underground venue that we're going to?
And even that place.
And it's very different than the smell in downtown where you have to enter through an alley and there's, human feces and graffiti everywhere. This one is kind of like a government sanctioned anarchist collective meeting point.
Yeah. And so cool. I mean, I do. I mean, it shows too, though, that those things only run off of people's sweat equity, right? Like it's like the smell only exists because Jim is still involved, right? Like if he and because he is not trying to be the overlord, but he is being like an amazing manager of people and time and things, and then taking that management and divvying out divvying out the other things that the community is good at doing, like booking and playing shows and cleaning up and getting people there and promoting and all that. But that you do see like unless you have a person or a group of people that has that energy to be like, no, this is the vibe, this is the energy, and to like constantly source that energy, that these things, I'm like, how many spaces have we all been a part of that have gone for like, it usually is like 3 years. Like a good space is 3 years. Like our gallery even
good.
was like 3 years.
3 years.
And
I mean, even a band. 3 years in a band is good. Any project, especially one that is not creating money, is only a time and energy drain. And after 3 years, you really commitment starts to feel like self-harm in some ways. You're like, I'm still committed. Still into this thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, what am I giving up? What have I sacrificed? What am I doing with my life?
Yeah. But even hearing, and I guess that's why these things do happen on college campuses too, because you get a lot of kids that have this, they're growing up for the first time, and they have energy, and they're finding other people that have energy and they want to change the world, and they are reading and learning and finding out like very simple adult things for the first time, and kind of like, yes, let's do it. We can do this. We can change, and that energy is like amazing and does a lot to change, at least, change things locally and get people interested in music and art and, cooking food and helping people and learning about community and then you have the rest of your
Jessalyn's
life
story,
that just breaks that all down.
I mean, Jessalyn's talking about, booking shows for the first time and just finding out about bands and, being online on early internet stuff and just be like, oh, this band is trying to find a show. Do we have a venue on campus? Let's see if I can put it together. And then I think that's some of the interesting stuff too, when you're in college or when you're young in that kind of way, where it's like some things are surprisingly easy to do.
Yeah.
You're like shocked at like, oh, okay, hold on. Parking my car anywhere overnight is really hard to do, but booking a show for a band on tour and feeding them is not that hard to do. Okay. Like, the scale of things that should be hard and shouldn't be hard. Sometimes, you just find the right place and the right time, and you're the right person. You're like, oh, okay, this all fits together really easily. Yeah. You just got to go make flyers and tell everybody this is where the show's happening, and then the show happens.
Yeah. And you get enough kids who are interested, and you get like a vibe, and you get multiple bands. I'm like, wait, I can start a band. Can I play? Like, yep, you can play. Right. Oh, great. I'm gonna play with this one guy that was in this other band, and this girl that used to sing, and then all of a sudden you're in 3 bands. Or
it sounds like you're a drummer. Yeah. Are you a drummer in this scenario? Yeah. I think you're in 14 bands.
Wait, you have a practice bass? Oh, then you also have 3 bands.
Oh, yeah. And a PA, a drummer with a PA will never be without friends.
Right. Like our Dave, the last drummer that drummed with us, was in 4 bands. And 2, like that was his life, because he had a practice bass, but also he was in like our band, then he was in 2 metal bands, and then he was the tour drummer on the weekends for the Herman's Hermits.
Oh my God.
So he would play like casinos and he's like this Philly dude with like tattoos and always chewing gum and like long stringy hair and like, like cut off t-shirts or whatever. And I'm like, you're in Herman's Hermits? He's like, yep. And that was his gig.
And that pays the most out of all of the bands.
It was the only thing that paid.
I'm sure that was the only one that paid. Yeah.
But it got him, he had like, he had so many frequent flyer miles, he could just fly anywhere for free. He had over 1 million frequent flyer miles. Yeah. So like, even when we got to go to Australia, the only reason was like, I got to go because I booked like 2 shoots to shoot, like people's, like some band photos and stuff while I was there on my off time. And that money just went straight to my friend Matt's pocket for booking us.
Was that for Monster Children?
No, that was just, we went on tour with our friends that were in this band called the Nation Blue and Black Level Embassy. And we played like, I don't know,
but you were
shows.
Able to sell photos, or you had something booked.
Well, yeah, it was like my ticket was like, I don't know, $1,000 back then or something. It was like $1,000, and I booked like $1,200 worth of work while I was there. And so then like
That's what I'm saying. Was the work for Monster Children?
no, it was just
work
for
was
the
for
bands,
the
like
people.
because they all knew
the
bands, so it was
paid.
like through for a
Gotcha.
label, and then like a couple bands needed press shots and something else,
Oh,
and then
amazing.
Dave was just like, well, I'll just use my freaking flyer miles, so he was free.
Cool.
Yeah, and then Chris had to pay his, but he had a good job, so it just wasn't a big deal. But yeah, no, but for sure, Dave was always like, well, I'm gonna go to so and so, and I'm recording like a death metal record for a band that he had met, and yeah, it was great. It's awesome.
It sounds great. I realize I don't really know enough about heavy metal. I'd have to say that. I was thinking about that when you were saying your friend played in 4 heavy metal bands. I don't think I know 4 local heavy metal bands.
No,
honestly say
I don't either.
Not because I don't like it. I would probably go see a show, but I don't. For some reason, I don't think I'm. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't really know like local heavy metal. I think I know like 80s, MTV heavy metal, but national known heavy metal. But is that there has to, I'm assuming there is a very vibrant, cool thing happening all the time in heavy metal.
There has to be, but it's definitely its own thing. Like metal and punk, I feel like kind of would cross paths every once in a while, but for the most part, metal is its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some sort of overlap with like, even like kind of the noise scene, sort of like a lightning bolt or something would almost have this kind of like tech hesh metal, heavy metal, sort of technical metal, sort of like prog rocky, sort of highly distorted, really fast sort of bands that would play with them or in that scene, or it's kind of like, sounds like sort of thing, but that's very different.
Yeah. I feel like the metal thing when like in the mid 2000s got really into black metal. I feel like everyone was like, I'm going to go watch this band that's like sounds like pit bulls. Like, and I wasn't into.
Okay.
I don't know.
But I don't think it wasn't black metal the more like operatic one with like ladies singing like angels and things and like synthesizers. Or am I wrong?
Black metal was like
is that death metal,
like burning churches in Sweden.
Like
the dudes with the like leather jackets and the spikes and the white makeup, and like their hand was always like this, like holding a chalice.
Right.
Like,
okay. Yes.
And I couldn't get into it. Like I tried.
Okay. But it was a lot of like kick. It was like kick, like triggers. Like, these like really like helicopter, like trebly or tremolo sort of thing. Right.
Yeah. Like sounds like we need some more metal bands on here. We need to get into
maybe if you're a metal band or if you know metal bands.
We need to get into the scene. I used to shoot photos for an artist, and his main studio assistant ended up like, he was a younger guy, and he's slowly like, oh yeah, I'm playing in a band. I used to shoot for him like a couple times a month, and so as I was going, his hair's like getting longer and longer, and he's getting the like handlebar mustache, and he's like, yeah, I'm starting to play music, and I'm like, uh-oh. What's going on? What's this going to turn into? But then he was like playing in a metal band, and he sent me the band. I'll have to look it up, and it was great, like super heavy, but fun, like just young guys. And now I feel like I have to go find his Instagram, but I feel like the last time I was looking, they were like on tour, and there's a whole metal scene. I mean, there's always going to be a metal scene. We just don't know about it.
I feel like death metal is very similar though too. Like, but death metal is Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Bolt Thrower.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
that sounds more like just like American stuff though. Those sound like, and then like black metal is more Norwegian.
Yes, Norwegian. Yeah. I mean, I just know,
but the very similar sound is ideal. Yeah.
If you want to know what black metal looks like, there was an amazing photographer named Peter Best, Beste. I think there's an E at the end. Peter Best. Oh, yeah, and he did a whole book on black metal. And
I see.
It's insane.
This is it's kind of, it's like Kiss or like
but they're
what were those the WWE guys that paint their face, the Road Warriors.
Totally.
Kind of looks like that, like Kiss or Road Warriors or something.
As far as I know, these guys are like
Okay.
take themselves very seriously. And there's like a lot of church burnings and a lot of like.
Right. I remember hearing about the church burnings. We played in Bergen, Norway, which I think is where the church burnings happened, maybe.
A lot of it up there.
But we played a Norwegian festival years ago with the band, what were they called? Mayhem.
Oh yeah.
Which I think was like a big part of that kind of world of stuff. But
I just always see their back patches.
The guy had like
Mayhem.
Yeah, Mayhem. But the guy had like a octopus mask on, and then the drums also almost sounded like drum machines just turned up really fast. And then he gave birth to this like kind of like fish.
Oh wow.
In the middle of the set. It was really like performance art in a way, like very theatrical and kind of not great, I guess. And maybe this is just what they're doing at this point in their career, but kind of maybe like The Residents.
Yeah, okay.
Or something where it's this like, the music's kind of goofy or kind of like, okay, if you're into it, you're into it. But otherwise, if you're not familiar with it, it'd be almost impenetrable to get into. But the antics on stage were so like, took themselves so seriously. But again, if you don't know it, it's like almost, it's like I don't know, like a Monty Python sketch or something, or some
like
kind
they're putting on a show.
So I was just like, it's very, very theatrical, but there's like zero context to an outsider, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't have the latest issue of what we're all tripping out on, because this doesn't make any sense to me.
Feel like metal.
But again, this was probably like in 2009 or 2010, and I think this was the band where people murdered each other in the band.
Geez.
Maybe we've got to have some people on. We can talk about it. I think somebody killed somebody else, but now there's just a guy with a fish with the octopus face and giving birth to a fish. Like,
yeah, I always kind of felt like I grew up listening. I listened to metal before I listened to punk because I got into Metallica right before the Black Album. So like getting into Master of Puppets and like, oh, this is cool. And I'm like, I like heavy music. I feel like at that point, we've talked about this before, that for some reason metal to me, because I had grown up listening to like Rush and Led Zeppelin and the Moody Blues. So like the heavier part of classic rock. And then like getting from Rush to Metallica is not that big of a leap. Right, because you have like the technicality, you have the like fast guitars, but really melodic and all that kind of stuff. So getting into Metallica was like, oh, this is amazing. And then Megadeth a little bit, and that kind of just traditional, kind of like the bigger dudes, the bigger bands that were coming out of metal, and then a little bit of like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and stuff like the older stuff. But then, but for me, it was like, I don't know. Like it felt like it never really got any different. Where that when I got into punk, or like someone showed me Bad Religion or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, oh, well, you should then listen to this other band, The Descendants or something. And then you should listen to Propaganda, and you're like, oh, what's Propaganda? And then you listen to Propaganda, and you're like, well, it sounds like Bad Religion, but I really like the lyrics a lot better. And then this is more fun. And then that turns into like some other political thing. And then that turns into weirder time signatures. And then, and you have this like indie rock / heavy music. And then you start listening to Caius. And then it's like it branches off. There's all these different kinds of heavy music. But then you can always just go back to metal, and you're like, oh, metal's just still the same. Like it hit. I feel like metal kind of, well, I don't know. We could have someone come on and completely school me and go like, oh, no. Metal has changed more than.
Here's what's been going on. But again, it's that kind of thing where it feels so insulated in a way where like, if you're not into it, man, don't even ask.
Right.
Like you don't want to, in no way, shape or form want to be a poser in any world. But I feel like, at some point you have to ask a question, or you have to ask, like what I'm genuinely curious. But again, now I'm looking at pictures of like Mayhem, and I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to ask any questions about these guys. I guess I'd have to read a book or something, but I feel like if I asked somebody a question, it'd be very offensive. Oh, don't even ask me
Well,
about that. How could you not?
There's a
know
theater.
the story of,
There's like a theatricalness of all metal, I feel like, right? Whereas like punk was supposed to
versus
be
like a
like
suspension of disbelief. Like you have to like go into it with some kind of like open-minded sort of thing of like we're all
totally
just
like you have to be, you're
gonna
like
be
ready
cool
for
if
the
it's
solo, and when the solo comes up, everyone puts their hands up and like, you know, you're like pretending you're on stage, and you're like wearing the jacket, and like you're part of the you're part of the theater, right? There's like a theatrical, like all those, like what Kirk Hammett started as like a classical guitar player, I think, as a kid. Like it's very much like you think of them listening to like Tchaikovsky when they were kids, and then they're like, well, we should just make this heavier, you know, and theatrical, and we should be on a stage, and it should be like dark and moody. But then, you know, usually when you meet the metal guys, they're like the nicest dudes, and they're like computer programmers. They're like real smart. They're real smart, you know, and everything's all good. But yeah, I don't know. You're right though. I don't know. I don't really listen to much new metal. I mean, not new metal. That's a whole different thing. But much metal that has come out.
I don't know how
recently.
we got onto this. Yeah,
recent metal. Would you call it recent metal?
Recent metal, contemporary
metal. Yeah, I still will throw those like, you know, old Metallica on and some Sabbath. But then when you listen to Sabbath now, though, you're like, oh my god, this is so tame and fun, and like it's just so great. It's just like great songs,
like a blues band, like a jazz band.
It's like you can tell they all grew up loving the Beatles, and then they like took a ton of like harder drugs, like probably speed, and then became Black Sabbath. Heavier.
Well, I'm gonna go see Iron Maiden in September at the BMO
Really?
Center. Yeah. I got tickets. Yeah, because my oldest son, who's turning 13 this year, has been enjoying Iron Maiden.
Oh my God.
He got it through Stranger Things, and so he'll put it on in the car. And I was like, "Hey, they're playing," and he's like, "Oh, can we go? Can we go?" And so he has a shirt, and so he's already pumped.
That's amazing.
So I found us 2
Speaking
tickets.
of theatrics, they'll have like
Friday
the big
and Sunday.
Eddie will come out and like over the stage.
I'm imagining, we'll get our money's worth from it. I've never seen Iron Maiden before, but it's have Anthrax opening and Megadeth. This
is like the 90s. I feel like that was a 90s, like Anthrax, Megadeth, and Iron Maiden.
This show played in 1991.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthrax, Megadeth, and Iron Maiden.
Ooh, Anthrax. I was listening to Anthrax somewhat recently, like the Attack of the Killer Bees record.
I don't know Anthrax at all, really.
Came on, and I was like, oh, I know
Do they have like
a couple of these songs.
There's some song. Yeah.
Well, they did.
Sounds like an Anthrax
They did
song to
Bring
me.
the Noise with Public Enemy. They like did a metal version.
Okay.
That's what kind of like got them bigger as a 90s, or what? That would have been late 80s. 90s. Early 90s. Yeah, boy.
I'm new.
Bass.
Yay.
How low can you go? That throw. What a brother know.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I need to do some more interviews, though, or I need to bone up on my kind of metal culture and history and what to do and not to do at a metal concert.
Well, do you know that band Excel? Do you remember that band?
Yes.
Because
someone was just talking to me about them.
Weren't they like the kind of mixed
metal punk
and
crossover?
metal, and at the same time as like Suicidal Tendencies was kind of like had their metal.
Yeah.
I mean, because I guess I listened to Suicidal Tendencies because the skate.
Sure.
Let's skate.
Yeah, but I guess there was the metal crossover sort of thing. Even like, I think like Bad Brains, you could consider metal tinged towards the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
The, Reignition and the Quickness. That's one of my favorite Bad Brains. That's one of my like guilty pleasures. I don't know if if it's you'd have to, I guess, be a music nerd or a punk nerd to even care about that. But if I was ever asked, like punk guilty pleasures, I think the Quickness, it's like the third or fourth Bad Brains record.
I never really listened to that much Bad Brains.
I'd put it on.
I know like the main songs.
It gets really metally. It's really noodly, but it's really good and still really fast. And then still do the reggae dub song.
Well, and even back then, metal wouldn't like Living Colour be considered kind of a metal? Like they were kind of like a metal
Sure,
crossover
right?
band a little
Ish.
bit. And then all
Yeah.
those bands were had
Metal is like, and I guess that's what I mean, like as an alternative or sort of, punk, person, post Nirvana person, like metal is, there's elements in all of it, in one degree or
yeah, like
another,
Melvins,
how
the
you define
Melvins.
metal. Like I know what metal is, but in terms of like, I think it's a self-identifying sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would wear a Metallica
Right.
t-shirt.
Yeah, no, totally. It would put you in a whole different. It would make people go, "What's your favorite song? What's your favorite album, bro?
Right.
Name
Yeah.
10
I
songs."
feel like I could get a,
Loser.
I don't know. 1, 2, 3. How many one? Okay, four out of those 10 numbers were correct. Those are names of songs. But I'm not going to tell you
10
which
is a
ones.
Pearl Jam song, bro. That doesn't count.
And 1 is spelled out. It's not numerical.
Yeah, that's a
You have to
word.
spell it with,
It's
like,
a
letters.
word.
Yeah, the word is 1. And then, yeah. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but even like I feel like Rollins band,
Right.
kind of became metal in some way, or post rock and metal sort of, there's this sort of
I feel like whenever the
thin veil of like tissue between genres that sometimes only matter to the nerds, or it's this community identity,
Yeah.
and I think that's where it really is. Like I like the fucking Champs.
Yeah.
I think they're great, and they're basically like a throwback, kind of vintage metal band.
Yeah.
But again, I don't qualify as, I can't wear feathered hair and a ringer tee.
well, it's like when the
Just 'cause I
guitar,
like the band.
like the guitars just get thinner and thinner, and they're like, "Uh-oh, it's becoming
I
metal."
don't know. Yeah.
Like-
right, it's a Thin Lizzy. I love Thin Lizzy, but is Thin Lizzy a heavy metal band? I mean, the font is, the artwork is.
Definitely.
But is the music heavy metal, or the Boys Back in Town metal? The Cowboy song, is that a heavy metal song? Phil Lynott looks metal as fuck.
From
They all look.
Pantera.
Oh no, I was saying Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy.
Oh, but yeah, Pantera. Thin Lizzy, I think is great. I like Thin
Yeah.
Lizzy. But it's my hard rock or classic rock.
God, yeah. I mean, it would be pre.
Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak. Dun, 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 somewhere in this
Because if you
town.
listen back then, like Quiet Riot and all those,
Don't you hang around.
they sound like that
Yeah.
too, right? I mean, they sound like that. They have that like that kind of
Yeah.
like blues based glam.
Slade glam. Yeah.
It's like dark glam.
Yeah.
Dark glam.
Dark glam. There we go.
Yeah.
That's why they don't let us name genres.
Have you ever listened to any dark glam, Randy? You know what I'm talking about, right? Come on.
Ooh, well maybe for October we could have a heavy metal.
You mean
month of
Rocktober?
October. Rocktober, yes. On Rock Mondays in Rocktober, we could talk about hard rock, heavy metal, heavy metal Mondays in Rocktober.
Yeah, heavy metal
on the
Mondays.
Hyphenate Pod. We've never really taken on a genre as a halftime.
Yeah.
Discussion point. Maybe we each bring in a record that we like.
Okay.
And we discuss it, or you send me a record and I'll send you a record, and then we can both listen to it, take notes, and then we can have a discussion about what our thoughts were of each record. Like you were saying, you don't know the Bad Brains, the quickness.
Right.
So I could send that to you, and then you listen to that, and then you send me Queensryche's first record that you loved.
So this was my.
I don't know anything about
This
that.
was my one of my first concerts was the Queensryche Operation Mindcrime tour. Yeah.
There we go. I know nothing about this at all. Nuno Betancourt, I think, was involved in this.
Nuno Betancourt.
Mind crime somehow.
Was he involved in that?
No?
I don't think so. But maybe.
No.
Maybe I'll find out.
Okay.
I'll find out that I'm completely wrong.
We'll find out about the Nuno. Where does
he was in
Nuno Betancourt fall
he
in
was
all of
he
this?
was in the band that was what was the really famous song, and it was the silent not
Extreme.
He was in
Extreme.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Different than what was that band? You saw Excel?
Oh yeah, Excel.
Word. What were they called? Is that the band you were talking about earlier?
Excel. Yeah, but they were they're like Huntington
Yeah.
Beach, or I don't want to. Sorry,
Oh,
I don't want to beach anybody.
Maybe Venice.
We're Redondo.
Who was in Queen? I always thought Nuno Betancourt was in Queensryche. No, who's in Queensryche? See again. I don't feel. we also had things like Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Right? I think growing up, where it was like that was kind of a weird mishmash of like, is this heavy metal? Is this hard rock? Like, were they metal heads? Or like Headbangers Ball? These kind of things. I feel like it really diluted the idea of what heavy metal was. Like all of this kind of like media saturation.
Yeah, like it just became kind of a look.
Kind of
More of like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're like a metalhead. You have long hair and a jean jacket, like a ripped up jean jacket, or back patches. But then the punks had back patches too. You just had to have different back patches.
You had to know how to identify which spikes and which patches and what leather jackets.
Usually, I think when I was in high school, you knew you were metal if you were in the smoking section outside. We had like the smoking section. And then
gotcha, yeah.
if you had tight black jeans, because no one wore tight black jeans ever, and ponies,
Okay, so that was
like high top pony.
What are ponies?
Like the high top shoes, they were ponies. Look it up. It was like basketball shoes.
Wait.
But the brand is Pony.
Okay.
I feel like all those dudes wore like pony high tops.
Oh, yes. This is like thrash.
Yeah.
This was like that kind of thing.
But
right?
I wouldn't have known. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They were sort of like knockoff like Air Force Ones.
Yeah, or Jordans or something. But they were like always like black and white. And those dudes, like
they had the big like Vans, sort of like checkmark versus the other kind. Oh, damn. Okay, that was the metal thing.
For me, that's what
Levi's
I was like. Those are the kids that are way too cool for anything, you know. And it was like the Metallica shirt or the like. I feel like you get to the point where it's like if you're wearing a Wasp shirt, you're in.
Ooh.
Right? Like Metallica could be like, I don't know, maybe people could, like a regular, like non-super metal kid could wear a Metallica shirt, but then you'd get like Wasp, Judas Priest, any of that stuff was a little, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like even if I liked Wasp then, like I would never even. Like I feel like it was a big deal to wear black jeans until like 2000. Do you think that?
Like it
Did you ever wear black jeans?
Same thing like skate shoes.
Just like
no, I never wore black jeans. I had brown Dickies.
I didn't do that.
I had like khaki
until
Dickies.
when I moved to LA and was like, you know what? I mean, just like whatever. Moved here, took pictures, and was the first time I was like, "Am I really a person who can wear black jeans?" Like it was still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then I wore black jeans. And I'm like,
no.
I guess I can wear black jeans. This is weird. It
wasn't allowed, right? It was those things like you're crossing over cultural lines.
Yeah, it was like a metal, an absolute
like
metal thing to wear black jeans and a black T-shirt.
That's what I'm saying. Like you couldn't wear skate shoes if you didn't skate.
No.
Like you'd get clowned on, or I'd clown. You know what I mean? So it was that sort of thing. Like that's why I think when I look at some of these metal bands or these metal things, I'm just like, I can't claim any of these sets.
No.
I can't front that I'm part of a clique.
No.
Like I see you got a thing. Your thing is clearly defined.
Yeah.
I can't just buy a T-shirt and roll up and be like, "What's up, metal man?
Yeah.
What's happening?"
Yeah.
You're like, no. Like we came from the 80s and from the 90s when it was like it was serious. Is stolen valor.
Yeah.
Like if you know what I mean, it's not just like a trend on TikTok. Like, oh, name 3 bands. It's like, no, you really have to. You can't buying a T-shirt, wearing a T-shirt is serious business.
Yeah.
This is not fashion.
Well, and
it
was hard to find
cultural,
T-shirts and stuff too.
expressions.
So
Yeah.
most of the time, you could only really get a T-shirt at the concert, or you'd have to order it through
the cool
a
head
magazine
shop or
or
record shop, or
something. Yeah, I guess a head shop too. But then you had to be. You had to want to go into the head shop and then be like, am I gonna like a 16-year-old? Can I get a Pink Floyd shirt? Like, bro,
I had a cool purple Velvet Underground shirt that had like red ink on it, but it was like red over white, like plastisol, really thick, and it was like really bad, and it was just one color, but it was purple with red on it. And I remember feeling like this was the only Velvet Underground shirt I saw, and I liked the Velvet Underground. I found I had their record.
Yeah.
I found the record like at a thrift store, like the Live in 1969, where like a double record, and I was like, this is the most way out thing I've ever heard. It was so cool. Like one side, the side B or side C had like just 3 songs and took up the whole side. It was like long live editions of Heroin and Ocean, and something else. It was just like, oh my, it was gorgeous and fast. And anyway, but I was just like, I like Velvet Underground. Cool. And then I found a t-shirt and I'm like, I can wear a t-shirt now. I like this band. I know what the songs are. And I wore the shit out of it. I wish I still had it. That was so cool. But again, it was purple and red. Like it was the 90s.
Yeah.
I was like, they were making black and white Velvet Underground shirts that I could buy in Claremont at Rhino Records.
Yeah. I would have never bought a black shirt
Random.
because I'd have been like, I don't want to get clowned by like the metal kids or even the skater kids who were like, you know, there was even in the 90s, I feel like they all the, you know, if you were skater, pro skater, whatever, there was a vibe. You had to have like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be with the kids who have the like pants that are way too big, like the size 40 for Dickies. And I'm going to skate in Converse or Vans. And I'm just going to have like a super baggy shirt on that maybe is a skate company, but I feel like at that point, I just had a shirt from the thrift store. It was like Sam's Auto Parts or whatever. And wore that.
Right. And that's sort of where that world sort of came in because all the other like music and everything else did feel so cliquish.
Yeah. Like
that it was like that if you could kind of go skate, you were sort of neutral, or even just the ironic sort of thrift store thing. There was a way to sort of like stay out of like any serious conversation of like, I'm just a kid. I'm not trying to be part of anybody's thing.
I'm not going to wear a shirt where someone's going to come up and ask me questions about like, am I down or not?
Right. Yes.
Like this is stressful. Just give me like a double XL penguin, like a penguin, like with the two little buttons here, like the little collared penguin shirt, like short sleeve.
Oh, those
short
are cool,
sleeve from the thrift store, and that's it. I'm good. I don't want to answer any questions. No, it's true. You can't see my shoes. They're covered by my pants.
Yeah.
So funny, man. But then I remember coming down here too. It's like, and because I was up in the Pacific Northwest where this stuff wasn't taken quite as seriously for the most part. And then coming down to LA and talking to somebody, you know, who had grown up at the beach in the 70s and 80s and music or whatever, being like, oh, like Converse. They're like, we did not wear Converse, Vans only. Nobody wore Converse. Like if you wore Converse, you just get them stolen and throw them away. Like, oh shit. Wow. Right. Okay. Yeah. I forgot California beach culture. So Vans only. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
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 This is good, man.
It all made sense. We'll explain this to our kids and they won't know what
you need to know who's down. That's one of the issues now. Nobody knows who's down anymore. Everybody gets away with too much stuff. You gotta have a little bit. You got to do a little bit of work, right?
Yeah. So it looks like the image that I had on. Sorry, I'm like researching this Velvet Underground like shirt I had in hopes of trying to find it again. There was a Velvet Underground record called Off the Record. It was a 1991 bootleg. And the cover was purple with a red Lou Reed like face. It was like a film strip, film 35 millimeter of like portraits of him. So a little bit of his lips on the top and then top of his head on the bottom. And it was released in 1991, which is called the Velvet Underground.
So it was a bootleg from earlier, or had they played?
It looks like it was recorded live at Max's. It was live at Max's Kansas City, and it was released in 91.
But did they play it in 91? Like, did they get back together as old people?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, they did get back together.
They did?
That's the fun thing about the Velvet Underground. They did have a reunion in the 90s.
No way. I know nothing about the Velvet Underground.
Really?
Not really.
Oh
I mean, I know.
That's a rabbit hole.
I know enough. I've listened to the songs. I was like reading the Andy Warhol biography for a while until I got to page like 1200. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is crazy. But so I know I've seen the videos and I know like the impetus and stuff, but I don't really know that much.
They had a reunion in 93. So I guess
Wow.
that 91 live thing was
Okay.
predated that. So, but they were cited as an influence to the Czech Revolution. When the Czech Republic, or when Czechoslovakia became the Czech Republic, it was called a Velvet Revolution because the people or the culture or the ministers in the opposition were inspired by the Velvet Underground.
That's why it's called the Velvet Revolution. I've heard Velvet Revolution before.
Believe this. If I believe, I hold the right to be totally wrong about everything.
Allegedly.
But I heard that it was inspired. Yeah, that it had been inspired by, at least the name of that, was inspired by the Velvet Underground.
So just like people were passing the tapes around.
In 89.
So that's late.
Demonstrations against against the Communist Party. This was before the wall came down. So this was still in Prague. And it was a International Day of Students in 1989. There was a protest and 2-hour general strike prior to the revolution. I'd have to find out where it all fits in. I'm reading like a Wikipedia page. But I'd heard, anyway, that there was some inspiration. So I felt like that had something to do with the Velvet Underground getting back together.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because they took it serious, that they were being cited as an inspiration. The naming and categorization. I don't know. They've argued that the Velvet Revolution was not, in fact, a true revolution because it didn't. The Velvet. No, I don't know. Maybe I don't know anything. Okay,
that's amazing. I love that. They would. I have a conflicting. I don't know. I wouldn't say love hate because I have no hate for Lou Reed, but a love not understanding. A love / not understanding Lou Reed. And I love, there's so many things, like so many songs that I think I love. And then so many things that I'm conflicted on because I really am just like, oh my God. And I think it was one album that was put out. It was like it was all songs about Andy Warhol, like after he died.
Oh, the songs of Drella. It was him and John Cale got together.
Maybe, and he did all the
stage play about that.
And the lyrics and stuff.
It's not great, but it's not bad.
But I listened to that, but just the lyrics, and I was like, these lyrics are so horrible. Obsessive. They're horrible. And they're just so but I can understand you're writing about your friend and this person that, I can understand that, but I was like, oh God, okay. And then, amazing Lou Reed songs. And then
I have AI confirmation that the name was taken from the Velvet Underground because the band's counterculture music inspired Czech underground dissidents, including the dissident playwright and future president Václav Havel. And the records were smuggled in and they reached Czech artists behind the Iron Curtain in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, amazing.
So they kind of served as a form of like,
I love that they chose the Velvet Underground to like, let's bring in a bunch of Velvet Underground records. This is going to work. And it actually did. You're like, but I'm saying as a revolutionary, like call to arms, like you would do that here and people would be like, what is that? This isn't, wait, what? This doesn't tell me to fight the power, whatever. But the fact that that was the change that needed to happen, I think is amazing.
It's pretty cool. No, Lou Reed has a lot of very like gaseous later career songs. I think I fall off, pretty hard in the 80s and 90s and post in terms of my appreciation for the output. Yeah. But I think the earlier music, in my opinion, just really holds such a strong gravitational pull. Yeah. And I think its influence is felt, decades and decades into it's from its creation, that he is not wrong for wanting to evolve as an artist himself. But it was really the world catching up to what he had done in the 60s by the 90s and by the early 2000s. Bands like The Strokes and these kinds of things, are direct, lines straight from what they were doing in the 60s. And by that point, he's on to something else. He's doing this other kind of thing. You're kind of like...
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't realize too, like I had listened to, I feel like I got the biography or one of a biography or a short bio or something on like Audible or something, and was listening to it. And it was really interesting, his early years of like how young he was when he's like trying to write like doo-wop songs, or like he's trying to make all these songs.
He worked in the Brill building. He was making commercial pop music.
So that made a lot more sense, like stepping back and going, oh, okay. And that he always like from my perspective from listening to that, I was like, it really was, because he always came off to me very like, it's like the Oasis dudes, like when you hear that and you're like, there's the like, you have the, I'm going to put up this thing and you're never going to get through. Right. Like, and that would happen. That was like, oh, this is funny, or this is whatever. And then you're like, oh God. Okay. So you really it's never coming down, huh? Like the wall is always just going to be,
there's no charm.
There's no like, you're just going to, it's always going to be okay.
Self-effacement.
Got it. But then when you hear that stuff, you're like, oh, but he's not that guy. Like he's trying so hard to make pop songs and it's just like, it's working in his own like dark, like way. He's making catchy songs. But when I was listening to those stories of him, like, I want to make pop songs so bad, and it's just kind of not working, but it's close. He's getting close. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh, this is like a very internal push-pull thing that he's like dealt with his whole life, which I'm sure is like, then you get the drugs and you get all of the everything, punk and metal.
I was just talking with my wife about him this week, because I think Lou Reed and John Cale and that whole, it's continuous, lifelong inspiration, daily affirmations of life and creativity and being productive and strange and being an individual. But the story that I was relaying to my wife was that, from what I understood, and I don't know if this was in the biography you saw, but his parents submitted him for shock treatment for being a homosexual as a teenager.
Oh, that's right.
And it fried his part of his frontal lobe, part of his brain.
Right.
He underwent shock treatment and then went to college and was kind of free from that. And then, had a poet professor that he was in love with, and then came to New York, and then, tried to have a singing career, and had this sort of like, this years long relationship with a trans woman who was also, they were drug addicts together. And, and I think in ways in which the world looks so different, but not so different, you know what I mean? 60 years ago, right. 70 years ago. I think Lou's world's view fits a lot more with today, and hopefully with 30 years from now into the future, with our children's, the world that, I think he influenced, and just the sense of, just gender identity and creativity and all of these sort of things that he represented. But he was all, I think that the anger that you see in the interviews, and he doesn't suffer fools, and he wasn't this PR darling, but he was a critic's darling for his entire life, and I just, again, there's like, 5 records, that are just
rough
landmarks.
Oh yeah.
Just
great.
huge, seismic craters in the rock and roll pantheon of 100 greatest records, or these kinds of things that he is directly responsible for. So 30 years in, he doesn't want to talk about shit he did 30 years ago. And that's all people want to ask him. And he does his 100th interview promoting his newest record called On the Boulevard. You got bad dreams on the streets of New York City on the Boulevard. I'm like, cool, but do you remember, does this song kind of relate to like Sweet Jane and what you do with that? And what do you think about the Mazzy Star cover of this? Like, I don't give a fuck about Mazzy Star. I don't give a fuck about he's just gonna, he's got a new lease on life. You know what I think really endeared me to him? And again, we're getting back to movies, but there was this great movie called Up in Smoke that was made in the 90s, and it was, did you ever see this? It was like a B-sides of a film.
Oh no.
From another movie.
I thought you were talking about Cheech and Chong.
Not Cheech and
Up in Smoke.
What was it called? Or was it just called Smoke? What was it called? It was called Smoke. I have to look up. There's 2 films that were made almost simultaneous to each other. What was it called? Not Open Smoke. Maybe it's not called Open Smoke.
Well, while you're searching for that, this will maybe I have kept my mind open to always, and I've done this 3 times so far. I've said, okay, I'm going to try again for Lou Reed. And it
I don't know if it works that way, because there's bands I've tried.
But I'm not saying that like music wise, but I do think because that makes a lot more sense, because I do remember hearing that in the book of but that why that because I think sometimes that like for some reason personally, like I get thrown off by people who are like consistently like battling the media or whatever, and you're like, well then why?
No, he doesn't come off good.
But just like for me, I'm looking at them going, well then just don't sit down. Do like the Leonardo DiCaprio thing and just disappear, and then go make your art and tell everybody to fuck off. Like, but then so to me sometimes I'm like, I don't get it. Seems like an act, but there is also that part where I'm just not a confrontational person either. Just in general. So I think sometimes like I'm probably putting myself in that seat. I'm like, well, if I was there, I would just be like, why am I at this interview? I'm never going to do one of these again, because this hurts my feelings and I don't want to be here. So I'm just going to go in the studio and make records. And I've obviously made enough money to just live in New York and be fine. And I can go on tour forever. Yeah. I'm just going to do that. Why would I even sit in front of Bryant Gumbel or whoever's asking me these questions, So sometimes maybe I have to take myself out of it. I have to take myself out of it and not be so judgmental to it. And then look at him and going like, no, he's going through all this like an existential crisis of like who he is as a human. And he is like a little gay boy who never got to grow up into a man. And so he's angry and he's, and he's got all these other feelings, but those feelings aren't okay for society. And so of course he's just like, you know what? Give them all to me. Give me all the people. And I'm going to show the world how angry someone is if they don't get to be loved when they're a little boy. So maybe I have to look at it from that way too. It's sort of
on that spectrum of also of like a cultural sort of like yes queenification of like not being out, but having the snark and all of the vitriol and the fun and like, I'm just fucking with you. Like my whole life is about fucking with people.
This is fun.
This is what I'm doing. And
this is fun for me a little bit.
I think there's a bit of that game of was in there for him as well. Yeah. As rather than being self-serious or caught giving a shit about anything, he's perpetually cool and never cared, but he did care a lot, and you find him in moments, and he was a practitioner of Tai Chi, and his wife, Laurie Anderson, has released his posthumous book about Lou Reed's Tai Chi practices and what that meant to him, especially at the end of his life and his sort of Taoist or Buddhist sort of beliefs, and his as he softened into old age. So I think there are elements of it. I was going to say, there was a film called Smoke with Harvey Keitel that was made in the 1995. And while they were making, and it's about a smoke shop in New York. And it's kind of a serious drama. But as they were making that movie, they had so many outtakes or like cut scenes of other people and like random characters that I think they've like leaned into that as well. And they created a whole second movie called Blue in the Face. And I watched Blue in the Face first. It was like one of those things I've, being a bored kid in the 90s, going through the video store. And I found Blue in the Face. And there's amazing short, and they're like kind of short vignettes. It's almost like that Coffee and Cigarette.
I was going to say like a Jim Jarmusch movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jim Jarmusch is in this Blue in the Face. Wow. He has a great scene about it. He walks in the smoke shop. He's like, "This is gonna be my last cigarette." I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, I stopped drinking coffee, and so if I'm not gonna drink coffee, then I can't have the cigarettes anymore. Like, no, and it just does this like 1 minute, kind of thing. But they cut back to Lou Reed, and I didn't know who Lou Reed was at the time, but he has this big mullet, and he kind of reminded me of like a lady that worked at a school or something, or those like tough ladies you'd see at like video or like a liquor store. He has this like long kind of curly mullet, and he's just talking about like his life or just things or just stuff that he's smoking, and he's talking about how he has like the glasses that flip up, and he talks about how he invented those. He's like, that was the first person to think of this. Nobody had flip up glasses before I did. I called them Lou's View. And I was just like, who is this guy? And this was years, or at least a year or two before I would find out, Velvet Underground and Lou Reed and put context to it. But he comes off so funny in that film that I think as I put it together, I had a lot more sort of like seeing him in that film, Blue in the Face, is a very strange, circuitous, random video store nerd way about getting to the Velvet Underground. But it definitely, I think when I think back on like how I looked at Lou Reed and how I was able to cobble together, just as much as I think if I just saw all the terrible stuff, it'd be like, oh, of course, yeah, I think that sucks.
All right, well,
or just
I think I need to
Metallica Lulu or something. It could be bad, but I would say, I sent you a link to Lou Reed and Velvet Underground is what the artist's title is, and it's live in 1969.
Okay,
and this was the first record I got, and it's a double live record from Houston, I think, and San Francisco.
Okay,
they only ever did one tour, and these are recorded from those live sets.
Oh, amazing.
And it's funny, and he talks, and he's bantering. Again, this is like my first record, and here's this guy, and I've memorized all of that banter that he has on stage, and like thought about it over and over again. And it's real funny, like, has everybody got school tomorrow? You guys, should we like play, like, we could do 2 short sets or 1 long one? What do you guys want to hear? And everyone's like kind of yelling out. I was like, oh no, you guys got school. I know it's a Monday tomorrow. Okay. All right. Well, lay back, take out whatever you do to get yourself through this life. And we're just going to get started over here. And then like they start, but it's just this whole, like, like he's just talking to the audience. Like, what are we doing tonight, guys? It's just like, this is crazy.
That's amazing. Okay. I'll listen to it. Okay. So now I'm on version 3 of focusing on Lou Reed in my
how
life.
To load Lou Reed into your culture.
First version got me Velvet Underground, which I loved, which I never had really heard. I knew of Nico because our dog when I was growing up was named Nico, and my mom liked. I don't think she liked the Velvet Underground, but she liked Nico. Like she liked the name. I don't know. It was just a name that was.
Well, she
around.
had that solo record with that Jackson Browne wrote all the songs for her.
Okay, that's the probably. One. So she probably.
I've been out walking. We don't do too much talking.
Right.
These days I seem to. That was in the Wes Anderson.
Which is also a great, great gallery in Los Angeles these days.
These days, there you go. Yeah.
But so I knew of Nico because my first dog when I was a little kid was named Nico, and then but then I didn't really know.
Well, that was a Warhol construction. Yeah. Like Lou didn't want Nico in the band. Yeah. But Andy told him you have to have a cute girl in the band. Like you're never going to be anything without a cute girl in the band. So that he forced this like German model who couldn't sing to be in Lou's band and do a record.
And then she's like a force of nature herself too.
She's insane.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like her, I've heard some interviews and then like her like the stories are crazy. Like, all right. Yeah. But then,
I mean, it was the crazy leading the crazy in that world of stuff. I mean, if you think about Andy being the one pulling the strings, and obviously Lou
so manipulative and so good at business,
wanted to be in that world because Andy had so much pull and so much access, and they were the house band at the parties. They were the Exploding Plastic Inevitable was the band, basically what the band was. That was the name of the parties that they would play, and you have those huge Mylar balloons.
Yeah, the silver balloons,
like the size of. Those huge ones you've seen, the size of like mattresses, and he would project oil projections off of those while they played. And so, in some ways, again, Lou wanted to write pop songs. He just wants to be like I don't know, Pat Boone or something. He just wants to be the guy up there, just Elvis or something, or
he just wants to be loved.
Yeah, exactly. And then he has to bend himself in all of these circles and be Andy Warhol's party boy band just to get anything going. Now he's got to have this German lady who can't sing monotonously over his songs, and he's just. He went through so much in torture through just being that band with the drummer who could only play one drum. She had a kick and a floor tom, or played 2 drums
the whole time.
And, the drummer that couldn't drum, the viola, who's a Welsh performance artist in his own right, who doesn't really like music either, and is looking to
John Cale.
This is not a band that should work.
John
Cale doesn't really
playing on pots and pans. playing a bicycle.
And Sterling Morrison is probably the most like steady Eddie. I remember when I worked at the video store at Rocket Video, these women came in and they said they were one of them was the daughter of Sterling Morrison, and they were doing a documentary about him and his life. I never saw what came of it, but definitely I love those like 16th and sort of 16th notes that he would do, real like kind of Fender Strat, kind of like a percussive element when the songs get going big.
Yeah,
I think that was really influential and really cool. And stuff, Buzzcocks would pick that up and do things with that. And I always think about it as like a Sterling Morrison kind of chimey sort of guitar stuff. It was cool.
All right. Well, this week on my drives up and down to school every morning and every night
on the mountain. Okay,
I'm going to do Velvet Underground.
To Queensryche, Operation Mind Control.
Operation Mind Crime.
Operation Mind Crime. Mind Crime. Okay, Operation Mind Crime. It's going in.
Oh my God! You get Queensryche and I get the Velvet Underground. I don't feel like this is fair.
Is this not a good trade?
Yeah. You know what? You just go for it. Our best. You got this.
I'm in. Do you mean I'm getting off better than you are?
No. I'm getting the classics. I mean, listen, I haven't listened to that record for a while. Maybe you'll bring a whole new world to
appreciation to it. Okay. Well, I'll definitely do some research to it as well. I know this like weird, what is their like symbol? The symbol's like a crab shell or something.
Well, the whole Operation Mind Crime record, which was their first, I don't remember. I think it was their first,
like a Barbara Kruger kind of like white and red, like label on
first
the top
record,
of it
and then they had a second record which had like Silent Lucidity and stuff, like that song.
This was their first record.
I think
Mind
so.
Crime, 1988.
And then the second record when they got big, or I don't know if it's their second, but the album that they got big on was like had the MTV hits in the 90s, but then they went back and they played their whole album from beginning to end, the older album, because I feel like they probably thought like, okay, we'll make a commercial album, but this is our real, like no one's heard the old stuff. So then when we went to see them, they played that whole album from front to back. And then they were like, does everybody know the story behind the album? And we're like, wait, there's a story? And so I guess the whole album it's like a theme. It's like a play. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's
like
something to look for.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
But I'll listen to it too this week to get myself back into it. The good old days.
Digital Noise Alliance is their latest record in 2022.
Wow, they're still playing? They're from Seattle too, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
They look like they hang out in Berlin a lot.
They did then. They looked like that then. Yeah, they were very much into, like, I feel like I listened to a lot of the Scorpions too at the same time, and they fit into that puzzle nicely.
How many bands did you take photos of where the guys would put their thumbs in their pockets? Was this a common band pose?
There's definitely a couple.
The thumbs in the front pockets.
Only people who are taking themselves
or you can
serious.
switch it up. Only if you're a real rock and roller, that's the way to do it. Or the guy switches it up now and he has the whole hand in the pocket but leaves the thumbs out.
Oh, thumbs out.
You can either go only thumbs in or only thumbs out, but you can't have the thumbs.
I feel like thumbs out is more chill. Like it's more like I'm just
like
two
tiny little penises.
I've
got to say it's not necessarily a good look next to your crotch, having a little thumb out.
It is pointing toward. It's pointing right towards the important bits.
Yeah, maybe that's
the chill. That's like, oh, you want to do photos? Oh, I was just walking by. Yeah, sure. Whereas thumbs in the pockets are like, I've been waiting for this moment, buddy.
Standing too long. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, all the photos of Queensryche on their Spotify page are a lesson in how to take band photos.
Okay.
If you want to
I'll check that out too.
Just whatever poses. I think I want to top all the poses if I ever have to take another photo again. It's like, okay, this is my Queensryche photo face.
Oh man, they're old. Yeah, I saw them in the 80s version. They were great, man. The live show was
I'm ready.
It was really fun.
I'm ready. I'm ready to learn.
Yeah. Are they from Seattle? Hold on. Let me see.
Yeah, we can find out. This is two men. Queens Motorcycles. Oh, Queens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formed 1980 in Bellevue, Washington. First went by Crossfire.
They were like,
and then by the Mob
they were
before
like members
Sedwin.
of like Cirque du Soleil. They all have like leotards on or something. Are those the same guys?
But man, they formed in
1984?
1980.
Is this one of those bands where there's only like one member who's still in there? Who's still the same?
I don't know.
Has it been pretty consistent? Okay.
I'm not.
So this is next week. This will be some things you can hear us speak about next week.
And I feel like too, they were one of those bands where I had, speaking of metal, this, maybe we can end with this. Speaking of metal. So when I was like a fourth grader, my friend Scott, his mom was like a metalhead. And so whenever we would go on rides in the car, she'd put in the tape, any tape. And it was like, that was the first time I ever heard of Kiss. The first time I ever heard of Queensryche. She's a big Queensryche fan, but this would have been like 1984 probably. So looking at their records, this is like their first couple records. So, and then AC/DC was huge. And it was the first, and I'm thinking of it now. I'm like, AC/DC is that middle band. This is like, they're rock, but they're also like, you can like them if you're metal, but there's like rock songs. But that was the first time hearing, but I've got the biggest balls of them all. My balls are always bouncing. You know that song from AC/DC?
That's the AC/DC song, right?
Yeah, Big Balls.
Yeah.
Or balls, whatever. and hearing it going, wait, are we listening to this song with your mom in the car? And she's laughing hysterically. She's like, oh my God, they're talking about a dance, guys. They're talking about the dance, like going to a dance. They call a dance a ball in Australia. And we're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's very funny.
Okay. Sure.
But that was my first time. I would say that was my first legitimate time listening to metal. And we would just listen to these tapes. And it was, like Kiss, Queensryche, AC/DC, and I was probably 10 at that time. And those are formative moments in my head. Judas Priest, like formative moments in my memory going, what is that? Like, this is so crazy. This is so different than anything that I know. and then my other friend, at the time, David, we were all getting into skating, and it would have been like 1985, probably fifth grade, and him having a Twisted Sister tape, and his parents being okay with it. And I was like, your parents allow you to listen to this? He's like, yeah, it's great. And I never really listened to Twisted Sister until like kind of recently, like the songs that weren't on the radio. And we're like, this is like a metal band. They were great. They were so much like faster and heavier and then they had their radio songs. But yeah, so maybe we'll do Twisted Sister.
Queensryche logo is kind of like a Batman symbol. I'm like looking at it enough now. It's like a Batman without like the pointy ears.
I gotta get back into this. Let me see. Where'd my?
It's kind of like a dagger in the middle of a Batman symbol. Or something.
Oh yeah, kind of, huh? All right.
Queensryche. It's hard to say, too.
Queensryche.
Like a rural drawer. Queensryche.
I feel like putting Reich into anything now would be a little problematic, but,
Yeah, it goes back to the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah. Not that kind of Reich.
Zoom. Call back. There we go. Called it all back. All right, everybody. Be well. Have fun. Write us halftime. What is it?
Hyphenate
halftime at gmail.com. Yep. And and we'll see you next week. We will talk about Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground live in 1969 and Queensryche Mind Crime.
Operation Mind Crime. Let's go.
Operation Mind Crime. I'm going to try to get it right by then. After I listen to it 4 times, I'll know how to say it. Okay.
Green.